Hello everybody, I am Zachary in the Raboot Squad, and today we are taking a look at the movie The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is perfect timing because this weekend sees the release of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Yes. And don't worry, this video doesn't include any spoilers for Multiverse of Madness. This video does not include any spoilers for Multiverse of Madness. So, just to let you know, it doesn't include any spoilers. But anyways, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Now, back when this movie came out in 2014, there was a lot of merchandise and hype for the movie's May 2nd, 2014 release, including some toys like this Spider-Man mask right here from the movie, and one of these McDonald's Happy Meal toys, which this is the only one I could find. And I know I have more of them, but that's basically the only one I could find so far. Alright, now there's somewhere here, but I just don't know. Anyways, on to the movie itself. The movie was supposed to set up a whole lot more movies, like a possible Venom movie that I did actually review, link in the description, for both movies. And was supposed to set up another movie with Aunt May. Yeah, the most exciting Spider-Man character. Yes, coming soon, the movie about Spider-Man's aunt. Now, I know there's a version of Spider-Man in the comics that is Aunt May, but I know in the comics Spider-Man has a version of... There's a version of Spider-Man that's Aunt May, and there's another Spider-Man that's named May Parker, which is Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson's child. But yeah, it'd be very interesting to see how Sally Field would have done with an Aunt May movie. You just saying. But due to the fact that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 turned out to be a pretty big flop, and one of the weaker entries in the Spider-Man film franchise. Now, it's not the worst one, because right now, this thing's the worst one.
Who are you, man? I am Venom. I'm just kidding. It's Dr. Michael Morbius at your service.
Ugh. I can't. That movie's gonna be a whole nother review within itself. Okay, so The Amazing Spider-Man 2 ended up being a failure. Even though it made decent money at the box office, fans did not like the movie. And they ended up canceling ideas for Amazing Spider-Man 3, and the prospects of an Amazing Spider-Man 3, and the possibility of Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker being in the MCU were canceled. Also, due to the fact that he was sick during the time he was supposed to be promoting The Amazing Spider-Man 2, or Amazing Spider-Man 3, the whole thing ended up being canceled, and we got this Spider-Man instead. On to the movie itself. How is the movie? Oh... There's lots of plots in it, I can tell you that. The plot of the movie is, the main plot of the movie that revolves around this guy named Max Dillon, played by Jamie Foxx, who's saved by Spider-Man one day in New York City. He is an absolute Spider-Man freak, basically collecting all sorts of Spider-Man merchandise and even pretending like Spider-Man is very good friends with him because he saved him once. Which, I mean, And yeah, if you collect Spider-Man merchandise, what weirdo collects Spider-Man merchandise? What have I become? Anyways, we also have... But after he falls into a pit of eels, because the people at Oscorp for some reason decided to make their electricity powered by living eels. You cannot make this stuff up. Living eels. What kind of idiot decided to do that? And they're like, we need something that's good for the environment. Okay, you're thinking like solar panels or something? Or something that's environmentally friendly that could be used to power our technology and all this stuff. And Norman Osborn's just standing there like, you know what? Get some living eels. Living eels. Why do we need living eels? Why do we need living eels? Just, it works. And that's the whole reason Electro becomes Electro. You know what, you know what? And I kind of see the reason that the Amazing Spider-Man 3 never happened. Anyways, is now how Max Dillon is turned into Electro. Oh, and after a battle in Times Square where Spider-Man does not remember who Max is, he decides that he wants to get revenge on Spider-Man. Also, there is Gwen Stacy in this movie, which her father, played by Dennis Leary in the last movie, he is haunting Peter because he didn't keep his promise that he made in the first movie to stay away from Gwen. And moments that I like to call Ghost Dad. Because for some reason, it's just the funniest thing I've seen in this movie. It's just the funniest thing I've seen in this movie. Besides this scene. The scene's hilarious.
You're a fraud, Spider-Man!
I love that scene. Anyways, as we get to another subplot where we have Gwen Stacy who's moving to Oxford. And then we have another subplot in the movie where Aunt May wants to become a nurse. And another subplot in the movie where Harry Osborn wants to use Spider-Man's blood to stay alive. Which is another plot point that's used in another Spider-Man movie. And yes, it is the one that's officially now the worst one. Morbius. I don't care how many memes you make out of that movie, that it's not gonna save the fact that the movie's a load of dog crap. But yeah, the movie also has... But yeah, and also because Harry has this goblin disease, that Norman now decides to tell Harry. He, on his deathbed, of course. Even though Norman is definitely not... And yeah, Norman is not the best father. Which Harry's not even explained in the last movie. Like, the Osborns are barely even mentioned in the last movie, besides Norman showing up on a couple computer screens in the first movie. Inside of Oscorp. And also, I think he worked with Dr. Kirk Connors in the first movie. But yeah, the whole point of this is to just get Harry to become Green Goblin by the end of the movie. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this movie that came out 8 years ago, he throws Gwen Stacy off of a clock tower, and Gwen Stacy, and while Spider-Man tries to catch Gwen Stacy, he ends up accidentally snapping her neck. Which, to be honest, is a well-choreographed fight scene. And the emotion that Andrew Garfield gives in his performance is fantastic in that scene. I could also say, amazing. Yeah, I'll shut up. But there's a lot of problems with this movie. Let's start off with the fact of Dane DeHaan as Harry Osborn. Now, in the last movie, I did like Harry's performance Now, in James Franco's portrayal of the character, he actually did a very good job with the character. He's a well-developed he's a well-developed character who the movie does a good job of showing the relationship between him and Peter throughout the movies. And the second and third movie start to show the downfalls of the characters till the end of the third movie, where Harry decides to help out Peter, where Harry learns his wrongs and decides to help out Peter at the end, and leading to his death. With this movie, it doesn't feel like they developed Dane DeHaan as Harry Osborn, and that's mainly due to the fact that he wasn't introduced. That he didn't have another movie that introduced him like James Franco, who had both Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 develop him. If he was maybe featured in the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, he would have actually... Maybe they could have had him developed more and had us more see the relationship between him and Peter, making the eventual downfall of the duo of the two tragic, like in the first two movies, like in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. But the fact is that even though the movie's over 2 hours and 21 minutes, the movie still finds its time to feel like... The movie still has to add in its multiple subplots into the movie, which do not need to be in the movie. And all we needed from this film was a story about Electro and Peter. It was about Electro, Peter, and Gwen. That should have been what The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was about. And what it should have fully focused on. Instead, it focuses on these characters that, in my opinion, are not developed that well. And the only one But for the positives for the movie, I could say that that the special effects are really good. Jamie Foxx as Electro Jamie Foxx does a fantastic job as Electro. And also, we have the fact of Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, which their dynamic is very sweet, and their chemistry is very romantic and nice to see on the big screen or the small screen, depending on if you saw the movie in theaters or on DVD. But it's a very good way to show the two. And I always thought that Emma Stone was kind of, and And in my opinion, Emma Stone does a fantastic job as Gwen Stacy. A lot more than Bryce Dallas Howard did in Spider-Man 3. Also, Andrew Garfield is amazing as Spider-Man, no pun intended. But he's absolutely amazing in this role. In this movie, he's a lot more fun and energetic with his role. Giving the character some lighthearted and quirky humor that was very needed in the first Amazing Spider. I feel like a lot of people were missing in the first. I feel like a lot of people all missed in the first Amazing Spider-Man movie. Like a lot of us when the first movie came out, probably weren't too keen on having a darker Spider-Man movie. To be fair, the movie itself wasn't that dark at all. But the ad campaign was definitely making it kind of look dark with all these dark colors, Spider-Man suit. It always taking place at night, besides that one weird poster. Or where it's just as daytime. But I would say this movie's suit also helped out. The suit in this movie looks brilliant. It looks just like in the comics, and the costume designers definitely did a better job with this suit than the first movie's suit. Now, I know there are some fans of the first movie's suit, but I just enjoyed this suit I just enjoyed the suit in this movie way better than the one in the first movie. But overall, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is very much The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is very much just a big mess of a movie that, even though it's not the worst Spider-Man movie, before April 2022, it was not considered the worst. It was considered the worst Spider-Man movie by many. But now Morbius just basically he made that. But now basically Morbius is now considered the worst Spider-Man movie, for good reason too. But overall, I'd give The Amazing Spider-Man 2 a 5 out of 10. It's not the worst Spider-Man movie, but compared to stuff like the Raimi trilogy, or even the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, this movie's definitely the weaker of the franchises, of the web slingers history and film. And I'd even consider all the Tom Holland movies better. This one's not the worst one, but The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was definitely far from amazing, in my opinion. Anyways, that's it for this video. And as for next time, get ready for anime, folks. See you later.